So let's talk about now, that's fantastic high school and college career, but let's talk about what you're doing now since you've been back. Well, first of all, let's get into a little bit of the summer thing that you do that we just finished here. It's the track club, IBTT. It's a track club that was founded by your parents, and it's just done extremely well. Every year it just gets bigger and bigger and better. So just kind of tell me and everyone else just kind of how it was, the evolution of that, just when they first started it and how you came up in it and how you come back and to contribute and to help, because I know you were always there, man. You're always doing something with it. So,
yeah, man.
So tell us what that was like.
It's, again, just looking back at these things, man, is crazy. I mean, how old was I? I think I was, 7th grade, 6th grade, something like that when we started the track team. My sister, she ran for another team. They weren't doing it right. She was really faster and relays and all that different type of stuff. Yeah. They weren't really practicing like they should have been and whatnot. And it got to the point where my parents were like, okay, dude, we can do this ourselves. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah,
that's how it started. All
yeah,
right.
like we don't, yeah. And then, yeah. So we ended up getting her a team. My sister had a team. We would be running at the meets. I wasn't running at this time. I was just chilling. My sister was running. She had her and her friends. They had a relay team. And then I came out there one day and another team needed me. Needed another guy. I knew the guys on the team just from football and whatnot. Yeah. And they were like, hey, come run with us.
Like, is that like a circuit meet? Right?
Is that a circuit meet? A TAF meet. Yeah. Random TAF circuit meet.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah. And I was just out there watching my sister and they saw me and like, hey, he can run with us, go. So I ran with him on that last leg.
Oh, yeah. That was your first time running?
That was my first time running. I mean, I ran track, of course, but that was my first time running like outside of school. Yeah, that was my first time. Okay. And of course, in school track, we did stuff, but you don't do a lot. Exactly. Yeah. So I did that. And then afterward, I was like, shoot, I guess I'll start me a team too. Might as well. I'm going to the meets. Like, I might as well, man. Like, why not? So I ended up getting, 3 of my friends, and we ended up having our relay. So it was like 8 of us at the time. Okay. We were immediately good, though. That was something that was pretty, I don't know if that's rare or not, but if you get, I guess, 4 great athletes together or good athletes together, they're going to be good.
Do something,
So we were placing in state, but we never competed in Junior Olympics or anything. And so to kind of fast forward, we went from 8 people. Now we can't get under 300, or something like that now. So and every year there's more and more and more and more. And we've had guys in and out of the NFL now. We've had another guy in the NFL now. We had a 2nd round draft pick, we had 4th round draft pick out of there. I just think the consistency of it. We have however many college graduates now. I was the first one. And now we have a lot of guys in college. We have a lot of people that graduated college that came through the program. And it was really just to give back as much as possible, make the process of getting, athletic scholarships, or even the point of getting athletic scholarships is really to go get education. Yeah. 1% of the 1% make it professionally to whatever sport it is. Yeah, so if you can use this, what you have now, to go ahead and leverage and get them to pay for your school, it's just going to help you at the end of the day. Yeah. So that's really what the purpose of this for is come out in track, but these kids play other sports, and track is really a foundational sport for all of these other sports that these guys play, for sure. Yeah,
because everything builds. I mean, you have to run in every sport. If you're conditioning in track, then it's just going to carry it over sports as well. Tell them what IBTT means, because a lot of people ask us.
IBTT, I'm better than that.
And I'm
better than that.
I love that.
I remember so it really started out, it was not any sports at all. It started out with me being in the backseat. My mom wanted to impact the community as much as possible. And she had an idea in mind. She wants to get the kids together in a place where there's no violence, there's no BS you have to worry about. There's no arguing, except whatever negative you want to think about or whatever you think is negative. She wanted a place where there's nothing but positive around the kids. So we had bounce houses. We would get bounce houses. We would get, basketball. She'll rent out a place just for us to come in and have some good fun. You know what I'm saying? Just for kids. Like so it started out like that, and she wanted to figure out what to call it. And she was like, I'm better than that. Like she came up with that part, and I was like, IBTT. I remember being like
really?
5th grade or 6th grade, like IBTT. We can call IBTT. And she's like, hey, you know what?
That's awesome, man. I like that.
So
I like to hear that foundational
so that
story.
The track thing with my sister didn't happen until 3-4 years after that.
Yeah.
So before that, it was just really a community impact type of thing. And she wanted to try to build it as much as possible, and I think she did a great job.
You mentioned a place where there's no violence, no BS, no stuff going on like that. I'm still amazed. In 8-9 years that we've been going, almost 10 years of me going to these track meets with y'all's club,
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to see a real fight.
Yeah.
Out of thousands of people, that usually with the gathering like that, you're going to see some kind of tempers flare or something.
Exactly.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I've never seen, a couple confrontations, but not just anything huge and big, which I would expect every week to be something going on. But it's like
it's just not needed in that space, and I think everybody that is associated with our with the track team in general, they know we're doing this for the kids at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So we might get hot because it's 100 and some degrees out there, and we're running and doing ripping and running, and somebody might yell at somebody, whatever. Yeah, things happen like that, but it should never get to the point to where we're being in physical altercation with each other. It just should never get to the point where we need to do that. And I think everybody, that's a great thing. It's really on the same accord on that end. Like, at least at the end of the day, the competition and all that stuff comes with it. That's track, that's life, that's whatever. Right. But at the end of the day, they know that we're for the kids, you know? So I think that really is a big remedy for all the egos and stuff that cause those fights and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Well, another thing is track is one of those sports that you cannot dispute. You can't dispute that you came across the line before someone else. You can't dispute the time. One, man. Really, technically, you can't dispute the time.
Yeah.
And, football and basketball, you can say, "Oh, his toe was out. It may have been out.
Or you can
say,
"Oh, well, he's better at this. He's better at catching the ball than this guy is at this." But there's multiple attributes. Yeah. And track is, hey, I'm racing you. You're racing me. Mm-hmm. And like you said, time. If we're on the same time, like, it's black and white. Yeah. Period. Yeah, no win argument. Or lose is no tie. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you're faster or not. And I think that really, it comes, that also helps the fighting part too, to be honest with you. Does. It does. The fact that there's no debate. Like, there's no debate. We can line it up again and it'll happen again. Like, I mean, there's no debate really. So I think that kind of helps it too. Yeah. But at the same time, I think the philosophy and the culture of it that we come with goes a lot into it. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about your 940 elite and kind of what you're doing with the training as well. So I know you've been doing that a while, training more than the 940 elite. So whichever one you want to start with, just kind of and also tell everyone how to get in touch with you and how they can join. Yeah, you, for sure. Yeah, man. I when I got back, like you said, Corbin was one of the first guys. Your son was one of the first guys that I got to train. So I got back, and again, I was just trying to figure out what the heck do I want to do, because I knew I didn't want to stay out there. Like, I could have stayed out there and taken like a Google job or something, or tried to look in something in tech or something, or internship. But I was like, that's not where my heart is. So I wanted to come back home, and I knew kind of all alone, like when I went and got my master's, like I was like, okay, I want to. Everything I learned and all the lessons I learned that didn't allow me to be who I wanted to be in college, I want to sprinkle those lessons back to the kids that I know, because I came into college knowing a lot of these kids from being in IBTT. Yeah. So I knew a lot of the guys that are in the pros or in college now. I knew a lot of these kids when they were youngins, and I would come into college bragging about them, like, yeah, we got a track team, man, and all of our young ones are way better than me, and all the guys at the time like, whatever, like, oh really, or whatever, kind of brushing it off. But now, 10 years later, whatever, these guys hit me up and they're like, hey, this guy drafted, that's one of them you were talking. Oh, this guy's a freshman. Oh, this one, and it just so I really wanted to make sure they were in a better position than I when they got to college. Okay. So I kind of just sat around, honestly, for about 6 months, and I wouldn't say sat around. I helped a lot more. I came back and helped a lot more with the track team, to make sure I was staying busy. Because I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I was in a state of like, I've had football all of my life. I've been playing football all my life. Right. I decided that I don't, or both ways. I could have tried to do CFL or something like that, but I've decided that my body and just mentally, and the game is not fit for me anymore. So what am I going to do now? Was kind of and I thought I had to figure it out too, and it was kind of a weird transition. I think it will be for anybody. But I try to make sure to talk about that with kids now, like be ready for this to be done at some point. I'm not saying it could be 40 years down the road, could be one, you know what I'm saying? Be ready for this, you know, to be done. So like I said, I was just kind of waiting around, seeing what I want to do with life in general. And then it just dawned on me one day, you know, just learning that 707 is a big thing now. I'm like, okay, 707 is a big thing. I was actually going to start it with another organization. I won't really say the name. I was going to start it with them. It was supposed to be their organization's 707 team that I was working with. And they decided that they wanted to, you know, go a different direction as far as, you know, charge thousands and thousands of dollars. And I'm just like, I don't know if that's what I want to do. So, you know.
You kind of limit yourself when you do that.
I think you do. You know? I think you limit yourself as far as the product you can get. And, you know, if you are doing it for money, which I'm not, I wouldn't say I am. But of course, you get money as well. Yeah. But if you're going to limit your bottom line and you're going to limit the amount of talent, the talent that you can have come in, it's just the nature of the business. You're not not everybody can afford, you know, to pay $2,000 for 707, or they just don't think it's worth it. And I completely understand.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, just try to make it a little bit more affordable as possible. So I was like, okay, let me, you know, I literally was on the phone on my way home talking to one of my boys, like, it's not going to work out with him. You know, I think it just dawned on me, like 9-4 elite. Yeah. I just said it. He was like, man, that sounds like really good. Like, do that. I'm like, yeah. It just clicks for some reason. Yeah. Ended up doing a DBA like the day after.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, something like that. And it was like, yeah, I'm going to jump into it. I actually have the, just for keepsake, I have the initial flyer that I made off Canva myself.
Oh, okay.
For the first one for a tryout. We had like 4 people at the first tryout or something like that. Yeah, 4 people maybe. But we were just trying to, you know, just get a team together to go out there and play. So that's kind of where it was kind of born. A couple of guys that were quote unquote, I will never call these kids rejects, but to other people, they were rejects on other teams. So I'll just say Brendan Sorsby. He came from another team. He plays for since he's a starting QB. Just got named the starting QB for Cincinnati a couple of days ago. But he was a reject from another 707 team. He's like a third team guy, or third string guy at the team. Much better than the guys that he was behind. But ended up coming to our team. And I was like, I saw him throw. I'm like, yeah, this is our quarterback immediately. But this was not, you know, I didn't really have. I won't say I had choices too, but I was like, yeah, I need one that I'm evaluating that I think might be college ready. And he had a live arm immediately. I was like, oh yeah, this is my QB right here, right now. Yeah. We went out to our first tournament and he threw like 25 touchdowns. Oh, he threw he had no incompletions, I think, on like the last, he had no incompletions in the last 4 games or something like that. Really? 0 incompletions. And we went crazy. And that was our first time out there. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm good at this. Maybe we have a roster, whatever, you know. Ended up getting one guy, Jordan Tyson. He's a star receiver for Arizona State, now freshman All-American. Ended up getting him the second tournament. Ended up winning one of the national tournaments in Houston after that. And then from there on, we've had, you know, multiple 5-stars, Peyton Bowen, Devon Mitchell, Mikey Hawkins, just different guys that are going to be huge names in college and were, you know, top of their classes when they were in high school. So it's been really nice to sit behind the clipboard with a lot of these guys. Man.
Yeah, sort of made it easy for you, didn't it?
It made it easy
all
for me,
talent
for
out
sure.
there.
For sure. I've been like loosely training guys without calling myself a trainer since I was feels like in high school, really. And I'm 30 now, so about 10 years, I guess. 10. Like whenever I would come back, I would train guys too in college. So
when you like on breaks and stuff
when I was
that?
in college, I would come back and train some guys or my cousin or something like that. So I guess I say 8 to 10 years, something like that now. Okay. So a lot of the stuff kind of comes second nature now. A lot of the stuff I've been saying for a long time, and I'm still obviously learning as I grow. different coaching cues, different things like that work with different people. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's one of the things that I noticed early on is when you started working with Corbin is it's not just the stale old same thing every time, maybe for 2 or 3 weeks, but then after that you learn something new and you're like, oh, let's try this, let's do this, and this break and this break, this exercise, this warm up. So you're always changing it up. So that's what's really good. I know you say you keep up with newest trends and stuff like that. How do you, what do you use to do that? You use YouTube or you read or you kind of mix a little bit of both?
I do a lot of research is mine. A lot of different articles that are, when I got my master's, I went to school for kinesiology and sport management. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of, we had to do research. We had to do quantitative and qualitative research. And a lot of that, that should be where your training is coming from. A lot of the stuff, you can make up a drill or make up certain things that might end up helping. But if it doesn't come back to the science, it doesn't, it doesn't really help much. So I'm big into, looking up certain articles like, okay, when I first really got a big grip of something like ground contact time, which is the amount of time your foot is on the ground when you're running, cutting, stuff like that. There's a lot of other stuff that research shows goes into the ground contact time. So just looking at ground contact time is not necessarily, going to help what you're doing. So I say that in saying like variation. I get a lot of from books as well, just natural movement books. There's some, a lot of guys nowadays, like you say, you do have the luxury of, all right, I might be on Instagram and see a drill that I've seen before, but they might give a coaching cue that's better. Like, that coaching cue, I think that will definitely work for this kid. Like,
so explain what you mean by coaching cue.
Coaching cue. So like coaching cue. So the best way to explain it for me, the way I always get it is when I tell kids to get their knees up, there's a lot of different things that could all, like your knee getting up could also mean your heel goes up. I don't want your heel to go up though.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Just because your knee also went up, your knee went to hip height, but your heel was all the way back there first, if that makes sense. And I'll explain that a little bit more when I'm training. But there's a sequence in movement too. Yeah. So just because your knee got up, what happened before your knee got up? You know what I'm saying? So you just telling somebody, hey, high knees when they're running, they might end up doing it correctly, but they also might have some different heel recovery things and stuff like that might need work as well. That you might not really notice right now, or you don't really notice. The untrained eye can't really notice is really what I'm saying. Okay. So coaching cues could be like staying tall. Oh, the worst coaching cue that I've learned lately, stay low. Stay low is one that I've learned is a terrible coaching cue, that confuses a lot of kids. It ends up making kids run with their upper body like this, and then their lower body. You're running you're fighting against your body. So when you tell kids to stay low, they think, oh, I want my chest to be parallel to the ground, and that's like, it's not impossible, but it's not the most efficient thing to do when sprinting. Okay. So you telling somebody to stay low, it could work. Somebody could do it correctly. They could stay low correctly just because they're good at doing it, but somebody else could be forcing themselves to actually stay low. It's like, I have tall guys that I train. You tell them to stay low, they're going to start running all ducks and weird. Not going to be running natural. Right. So just coaching cues. Okay. And there's a whole research on that as well. Different coaching cues to give and whatnot.
I watched this video of this guy was explaining the ground contact you were talking about. And man, I just didn't realize how much science it was into just doing like an A skip. Oh yeah. It's not just an A skip, your feet touch the ground. You have to
your feet have to touch the ground in a certain position.
Yeah. You have to strike it at a certain
position. It's like the hammer and the nail. There's a lot of different things that people say to kind of get their point across. Those are all different coaching cues. Yeah. And they're very important, and they're basic, but and I feel like they're basic now to me. They're basic to me, but ignored a lot of times. Like, I see a lot of guys that speed train, and I'm not talking about anybody's training at all, but like, guys that speed train, they're not enforcing the most important part, which is your foot contact. If your feet are contacting the ground wrong, or if your feet are on the ground too long because you have weak ankles or something like that,
right?
You're going to limit the amount of speed you can get, period. So even they might get a little bit faster, maybe, but they're not going to reach their peak. You know, so a lot of that different stuff goes into it.
There is a lot of science behind it. And, you know, like you said, there's some guys that don't really train all the right way, and it could be just someone that just thought, hey, I can train and I can do this, but you have to actually have some knowledge of what you're doing as well.
You have to plan it correctly. Really, you have to know how much to run, how much rest to have. Rest is the most important thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times, especially when you're talking about not getting injured, it's just so much that goes into it. And I think people, you know, they might be really good at one, but I think we need to be, just as trainers in general, we need to be more well-rounded. Yeah. And, you know, body mechanics. If you're teaching speed, you should also be teaching body mechanics. If you're teaching receiver work, you should also be teaching body mechanics, efficient movement, you know, stability, all that different type of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
You mentioned injuries, to keep training to keep from getting injuries, but also if you are injured, you still can train, but it's a different type of training. Am I right? Sure. You can still not as strenuous and the different exercises. So, you know, like you said, there's a bunch of different angles to get to it.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of stuff that, you know, you might not be able to do something on the hard ground or turf, but maybe we'll go to the pool. You know, you're not necessarily hurt, like you can still play, but you know, we need to lay off of the pounding of your joints all the time. You know, there's a lot of different stuff you can do for that. There's a lot of different stuff you can do for stability. There's a lot of different stuff you can do with for explosiveness that don't require you, you know, being, you know, strenuous workouts all the time, especially when you have a lot to do in a day.
Yeah. All right. So, do you want to give everyone? Everything will be in the description how to get in touch with you, but you want to kind of just tell everybody where to find you on social media.
Social media wise, I'm not too big on there right now, but Instagram, motion with 2 N's .ats.
What is that? Is that your site or what is that?
That's my site. Yeah.
Okay.
Motion and then all things speed is the ATS.
Okay.
And then my personal, what Don up to, is my personal, and then Twitter or X, is Dontonio Keyshawn. So you can find me on all those, and then 940 Elite, of course, on all those platforms, Instagram, Twitter as well.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you for dropping by, and I appreciate you coming in. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. I'd like to ask you to check out our featured business. It's going to be in the description. Actually, I'm going to have both of my featured businesses in the description so you can get a hold of them and get what you need from Clutch Designs or Brits Kicks. Once again, I'd like to thank Dontonio Jordon for stopping by and being in the studio. It's an honor and a pleasure. I see him all the time, but it's good to interview him, you know. All right. Well, everyone, y'all have a good night, and y'all take it easy. See y'all next time.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.